Coffee's for closers only. You think I'm fucking with you? I am not fucking with you. I am not fucking with you. Coffee's for closers only. Closers only. Coffee's for closers only.
Good morning. Welcome to Coffee Friday. My name is Dave. Got a very special Coffee Friday episode for you. It's featuring me and Peter Hart, a good friend of mine who formerly of the Dadgum podcast. If you were around for the Postgrad Problems blog days, you know him as Icehouse. He's an Austin guy, and he's also very good around the grill, so we thought he would be fitting to hop on with us. Our guest today is Hattem Mattar. He's the world's first Arab pitmaster. And as we learned, I don't want to spoil it, a lot of other things. Maybe we get into an impromptu combat sports minute. We do. I'll just tell you right off the bat, we really do. But an interesting guy. We hung out. We had a great time. Went and had Terry Black's barbecue here in town afterward and went by the Allen Boot Company and checked out some hats and some boots. Really cool. Really cool. And we're glad we got to sit down with him. Hope you enjoyed this. Here's Hattem Mattar. Okay, Hattem, I want to start out by reading something to you. And you can stop me if you've heard this before.
Okay.
But he is that guy who is the life of the party, the center of attention, the risk taker, the wisecracker, the guy who was elected student president but also had the most attentions, the guy who always gets into trouble but never seems to let it bother him. He's the guy who rides a Ducati, who knows jiu-jitsu, who has jumped out of a plane more times than you've had hot dinners. Of course, that is about our guest, Hattem Mattar. That is from Esquire Middle East.
Yes, sir.
Were you aware that they wrote this about you, and what did you think when you read that? Because that's the nicest thing I've ever seen written about anybody ever.
We were so honored. We featured a year ago before that was published. There was an Esquire issue that was called the Undefeated issue. And it was the world exclusive for Habib speaking to the press after he had retired. And we were featured in that same magazine. And the title was The Barbecue King, Grilling with the Barbecue King of the UAE. And I was like, all right, thanks. That's it. Very honored to be featured next to that guy. You know, in the personal sense, in the mixed martial arts sense. And then the following year, they're like, hey, we'd like you to be on the cover. We want to keep telling the story about where you've come from and where you've been. And 3 days worth of just conversation with Matt, who's the editor there. And he wrote that just from spending 3 days and just honestly, because we're both kind of cut from the same cloth. He's a single dad. 3 days later, he published that. And yeah, you're right. It is the nicest thing. It is the nicest thing.
Anything jump off the page at you, Pete?
I've got a question here, though. The last line about jumped out of a plane more times than you've had hot dinners.
Yeah.
I got curious.
Yeah.
I guestimated because I eat hot dinners frequently.
Must be nice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I just did I'm 37 years old. Let's say, 300 a year.
Yeah.
That comes out to about 11,000.
Yeah.
Have you jumped out of a plane 11,000 times?
Close.
Really?
No, not even. It's
like, dude.
No, not even close. I've got 237 jumps.
I'm concerned about this author. I feel like he needs to eat more hot dinners.
Yeah, he's
Get this
poor
guy a
guy.
hot dinner.
Yeah, poor guy. We got to feed him more barbecue.
Is that
No,
just a hobby you picked up? Or?
It's a hobby that I picked up out of necessity, actually. During my ex-wife, God bless her, when we had our children, sold my motorcycle without me knowing.
Where is
The
the story
Ducati?
going?
Yeah. So sold my motorcycle. I'm like, hey, I came back. There's no motorcycle in the garage. I'm like, where's my motorcycle? She said, oh, I sold it. I said, okay, no problem. And then I went and got my skydiving license because that's not something you can get rid of. It's a skill set. So I traded the motorcycle for skydiving.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll note that here in the on the rundown.
Yeah, there you go.
The opening of that article, just by the way, says you might not know Hattem Mattar, but you know a Hattem Mattar.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody like you.
Yeah,
this author's full of shit.
I appreciate that.
I've learned quite a bit in the few minutes we've met and
Yeah.
talked. But yeah, tell us I guess let's start by talking what everybody wants to talk about: the briefcase full of brisket.
Yeah. 25 years in the UAE now, 1998. Started grilling hot dogs for the American Baseball League. No one else was doing it. I was 16 years old. Sold hot dogs, bought myself my first motorcycle. Got into barbecue from eating it in Houston. And then nobody was making it in 2014. Vacuum sealed brisket, froze it, flew it back. TSA, everybody, any border agency on the planet was stop. If I was flying through Frankfurt, if I was flying direct, giant hunk of meat like this big, they're like, "What is this doing in your suitcase?" And I couldn't. I was as well dressed as I was just tired of being, door number two. So I'm
Sure.
like, you know what? I'm gonna make it myself. Made it myself out of the backyard. Backyard turned into catering. Catering turned into events. Events turned into restaurants. Restaurants turned into four.
That's awesome.
Where are they located?
They're all in Dubai.
All in Dubai.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
So first question, do you remember which establishment in Houston?
Absolutely. Don't make fun. It was Rudy's.
That's fine.
You know what?
It was
Rudy's comes up here.
It was Rudy's.
Rudy's is fine. Like I think Rudy's. My previous company used to work next to the Rudy's over there on 360.
Yeah.
Breakfast tacos are fantastic.
$2. You want breakfast burrito
Oh yeah.
wrapped in foil? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So first taste of barbecue was Rudy's, and they were like lean or moist. I have no idea what that is. I got both. Ended up taking some home. Was putting it behind my ears before I went to the club. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Just like I was an obsession.
Okay.
Yeah. And then here we are in Austin, hanging out with you guys, talking about barbecue.
That's awesome. Shout out to Rudy's.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shout out
Sneaky
to my
shouts to Rudy's.
shout out to my man Rudy.
You can't. It's not really feasible to go and stand in a line for like 2 hours on a whim or anything, but they're everywhere. It's fast.
I
Shout out
did.
to Rudy's.
I went to Killen's actually.
Yeah.
I was blown away. Did wait in line, did the whole thing, and just monstrous. I haven't done. I did Louis Mueller. Hanging out with Wayne this afternoon.
Nice.
And obviously South Side. But the cool thing about brisket is when someone's like, "Oh, how long did it take you to perfect brisket?" I'm like, what is the question? There's no such thing as the perfect brisket. No one's perfected brisket. You know what I mean? Everyone cooks different. We hung out with Myron Mixon in Washington. He's, I guess, the Kelly Slater. You know Kelly Slater from surfing?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the Kelly or the Michael Phelps of barbecues, won the most titles ever. And his, combination for brisket is completely left field of what we're doing. Who's perfected brisket? Nobody has. Everybody's still working on it.
That's huge for me as someone who's done approximately 2 briskets, and they've been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife acts like she's into them, and I think she's just being nice.
Just
but-
being nice. No, it's
Yeah.
Sometimes it's part of the experience.
it is a labor of love. It's not a cuisine of convenience.
So what other barbecue joints around town or just in Texas or around the United States are you a fan of?
I still haven't had anything on the West Coast.
Okay.
Plan on doing so. Moose Craft Barbecue started out of their backyard. Now they've got a legit barbecue restaurant. Chef Ben Ford, who's Harrison Ford's son, came to eat at our restaurant. Really well-renowned chef, showed up to the restaurant in Dubai, and I was like, I recognize you, and he's like, no, you don't. I'm like, no, but I'm sure I've seen you somewhere, and I'm like, and you can tell he's like, he's like, no, you haven't. I'm like, okay. When we sat down, and I'm like, are you sure? Like, he's like, okay, just quit it. I'm Harrison Ford's son. Get it out of the way. He's Han Solo's son, and he's a very accomplished chef on the West Coast.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
He does
not,
he
but
does
it's-
barbecue as well.
But you're a good match for him because Harrison Ford crashes planes a lot.
That's true.
So you would need to know how to skydive to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Dude, full circle.
No,
Yeah.
he's West Coast barbecue. Haven't gotten out there yet, but going to California this summer and looking forward to doing that.
Sweet.
What's the biggest difference between what you do with the brisket compared to like what, classic Texas brisket?
Classic Texas brisket, the gospel truth Texas brisket, 9 parts, 6 parts, black pepper to salt. Yeah, put it in the thing, put it in the smoker. Some people wrap, some people don't. And then it comes out. You rest, all that stuff. We spice it with spices from Syria, spices from the UAE, spices from Egypt, spices from Sudan. You put all those together, and you're like, what the hell is this? You recognize that it's brisket, but the spices, I mean, it's granular. You can crunch it. You can feel it. You're like, where does this come from? And that's the point of what we're doing. It's barbecue or culinary diplomacy, as you will.
What would the spices, like the flavor palette? What is it? Something comparable that we might have heard of or might have.
In Arabic, we say bila fakhr. I mean, which means with the greatest humility. It's not comparable to anything. Nobody else does brisket like this. It's called. We call it third culture barbecue for a reason. I'm Egyptian, raised in the UAE, making American barbecue. Where does that, where the nexus of all of those things? I don't think anybody else is doing that.
Well, I guess we have to go to Dubai to try it. It's the only option.
If you had,
Expensive.
if we had 18 hours, I'd make you some.
How was the reception of when you first started putting out the brisket to the public? Were they very receptive to it in the UAE?
In the UAE, the reason we are where we are now is because word of mouth. One person told one person, and then the next person, and then the next person. I was a very wealthy oil and gas engineer, and now I am a very poor but very happy chef. So people were very receptive to it in 2015 because it didn't exist.
What made you get out of oil and gas?
I got fired.
Oh, okay. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Been there.
Yeah.
You ever been to Subway?
Yeah.
I got left off the schedule there famously when I was 16. So it wasn't like they didn't tell me I was fired, but it was like, okay.
No, my boss, God bless him, called me one day and he's like, "Are you going to join the call?" And I'm like, I was in the middle of something, covered in gunk, smoke in my face. And he's like, "Are you going to join the call?" And I'm like, "What call?" And he's like, "The call you scheduled." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm having connectivity issues." He's like, "You know what? Shut up. I Googled you." And I'm like, "Oh," this is November, by the way. I'm like, "Oh." And he's like, "You're fired." I'm like, "I appreciate you putting up with me this long." I'm like, "Thank you, sir." Hung up the
Wait,
phone.
so what did he see when he Googled you that he didn't
Exactly
like?
what you see now. If you Google me, it's all barbecue. My LinkedIn profile doesn't even show up. It's all Hattem restaurant, Hattem cooking, Hattem doing all this stuff. So they realized I had a side hustle. It wasn't my side hustle anymore. It was my regular hustle. The oil and gas thing was my side hustle.
Oh man, that's a good place to be.
Yeah.
That's a really good place to be,
Yeah.
especially right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I missed the bus on that one.
Yeah,
As
that's
soon as
okay.
oil and gas picked up, I'm like, yeah, see ya.
I think this brisket thing's gonna work out for you.
Maybe.
I got some questions.
Yes,
So
sir.
you say you got 4 restaurants.
Yes, sir.
Brisket's a specialty.
Yeah.
It's a 2-part question.
Okay.
First one is going to be, how many are you moving a week or a month? And then the second part is, how easy is it to source? Can you talk a little bit about how you're sourcing the meats? Because I assume you're not doing it in briefcases anymore.
No, I'm not. So two parts of the question. When things were going well, we were there's a place in Dubai called Time Out Market. You guys know there's Time Out Market in New York, Chicago, Montreal. The original one was in Portugal. It's a licensed food hall. And essentially Time Out is a magazine like Texas Monthly.
Mhm.
And it curates the best of the city, the best bars, the best clubs, the best. So they pick 17 of the best restaurants and put them in one place. And they have a licensed bar that belongs to them. And essentially you can eat 10 things at the same time with a whole bunch of people. Everybody can get whatever they want, but it's the best of the city. So we're part of that food hall. And to answer your question, when we had just opened up, that was our first restaurant, we were doing 1.5 metric tons of brisket every weekend.
I love that we're measuring things in tons now.
Yeah, I don't know what is that. What is that in
I'm like trying to
American? What is
comprehend
that
that.
American
I mean,
pounds?
Just a lot,
about 3,000 pounds.
Yeah,
many pounds.
yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah,
cows.
so let's say you got a 30-pound brisket, maybe about 100 a week.
Yeah.
100 in a weekend.
Oh yeah, on the weekend we were just chucking it out the door. Sandwiches, plates. We were doing half pounds of pastrami, brisket, sandwiches. It was mental.
So let's talk. Everybody that's listening, you can go check out his Instagram. It's great. But can you describe the smoker setup?
Yes, sir.
That is necessitates. Talk about where you're cooking all these briskets.
So we have a custom made smoker from Texas, obviously, and we have several pieces of equipment that do everything that a Texas barbecue would do. The trick in the UAE is, drum roll please, it is the desert. There is no wood. So what you guys would be like, oh hey, we're out of oak. Let's rock up to the gas station and get a couple of bags. We were during COVID. We were down to the last bag of wood while we were producing before the next container came out. So our first ingredient, what makes barbecue is imported, and it's 45 to 60-day lead time. So we buy orchards at a time of sustainable wood.
And where does it come from?
All over. We've got wood that comes from Texas. We've got wood that comes from the UK. We've got wood that comes from Eastern Europe. And it's places and people that we know and have met that have come to Dubai, that have eaten our food. All of the wood that comes is to our spec specifically, which gives us, our kind of flavor. Mm-hmm. And for all the trees that they turn into firewood, those orchards are replanted 2 or 3 times over.
That's great.
Yeah.
And is it mostly oak, or are you going to send mesquite or anything like that?
Here's the secret. Are you ready? Post oak. Right? Mm-hmm. Southside Market. Post oak, live oak, white oak. Mix of those 3. And as subtle as it is, there is a difference if you use one or the other, but you mix all 3 of those, money. Right. Literally and figuratively.
What do you think about the pellet smoker craze? Because I currently am a pellet guy.
Repent.
I'm sorry. I thought this might happen.
Repent from your ways. No, look, pellet smoking and gas grills will get you the quick endorphin dopamine hit of barbecue convenience, but there is no artistry in those things. And in my personal opinion, barbecue is the last analog experience known to man. You can't digitize barbecue, right? As much as they try to put Bluetooth probes that'll tell you when your brisket has hit 205, right? Barbecue is still. Are you guys? You're laughing. Do you guys do that?
I'm not going to name names.
Does. And I whenever I'm in a bad mood, I send him memes about how pellet smoking is not cool.
Fist bump there.
He does.
Yeah, fist bump there. No, and barbecue, you have to smell it. You have to see it. You've got to touch it. When I was cooking with Wayne Mueller, we were chucking out beef ribs. He wasn't even temping them. He was just like, this one's done. This one, this one needs 10 minutes. How the hell do you know that? But it's not a DoorDash 15-minute fried chicken to your door. God bless fried chicken. I love fried chicken, but it's not that cuisine. It's, on the Arabic hospitality side of things, and I tell this, we were part of the Smithsonian Folklife Festival representing the UAE. I tell people that barbecue has a synergy with Arabic hospitality because Arabic hospitality comes from the old days. They would host strangers for 3 days, and those strangers did not have to tell them their name, where they came from, or where they were going. If they stayed for the 4th day, it was incumbent on them to tell their host where they were going and what they were doing and their name. 90% of the people only stayed 3 days. So Arabic hospitality comes from the feeling and the sense that you are hosting somebody who will never be able to repay the favor or the kindness. Barbecue is exactly the same way, in that if you spend 18 hours making a brisket, the person that's going to eat it spends 5 minutes eating that sandwich. He's never going to be able to repay the effort and kindness and time that you've had to put in to the cuisine.
I feel like a jerk now. Been cutting corners.
I'm about to start crying.
No. It's not that. It's just it is a cuisine. You can feel the amount of effort. If barbecue is done right, you can feel the emotion of the person that's cooked the food, I think.
Are there any culinary traditions in the Arab world that are similar to a longer slow smoked or slow cooked?
Plenty. Yeah. Tell Netflix to give us a special and we'll show them. We're in the UAE, there's something called tanur. In Oman, there's something called shua. In Jordan, it's called zarb. And all of those are underground pit cooking traditions, where you will bury a whole carcass and then come pick it up in 24 hours.
Similar to like a pozo in South Texas.
Yes, exactly. Cool. Exactly. So, and you've got to oh my God, is it a cuisine of confidence? So you'll bury this thing, you'll get the fire, spice it, cover it. And then once it's covered, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. But when tomorrow comes,
you can't check.
You're cooking blind. So when you come back the next day, everybody's expecting food. Like you've got 20 or 30 people. If you open that pit and God forbid it's not ready, you can't order Hardee's then.
Oh, no.
You're in trouble. So it is, man, if you can cook underground, you'll survive the zombie apocalypse. You can do it.
Animal typically are you?
Lamb, goat, camel. But those, because in the UAE, that livestock exists. Cows obviously are very water intensive, no grass, that kind of stuff. So goat, camel, sheep, lamb.
You made a face when you said camel.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that is it goat and lamb are the preferred ones, and then camel's kind of like the second?
No,
tier,
no,
or-
camel is a luxury actually. Camels go for millions of dirhams when they go. There's this, you're gonna laugh, but there is a camel beauty contest, believe it or not.
I mean,
Oh,
we're in
as there
Texas.
should be.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
There's a
I-
camel beauty contest.
My dad made me go see the fattest pig in Texas one time. Nothing will surprise me.
Yeah, okay.
I
There
think
it
I
is.
saw the smallest horse in the world allegedly at the state fair once.
Yeah, there you go.
Just a mini horse.
So camel is you do it if it's like a wedding of nobility or somebody well to do in the area. Camel is absolutely a luxury. The rest of it is,
What got a lot of camel questions now. What
we could do
the prettiest camel? What is generally the
Oh,
one?
man.
Is it the eyelashes?
I don't know,
or-
man. That's outside my Donna says, yeah, that's outside my wheelhouse, man. And we did cook a camel once for somebody very important. He jokingly said, "Hattem, can you cook a camel?"
You can't drop names, so this is very important.
No, it's somebody important.
Okay.
It was an HH. He said, "Hattem, can you cook camel?" Said, "Zidi, if you send us one, we'll cook it." Just en passant, like as a joke. Next day, open the door. Hattem Mattar. I say, "Yes, sir." He said, "I have camel for you."
Come on.
I'm not joking. I got a picture of it. I'll show it to you.
Who
after.
is this?
So we put the camel in the smoker, and it took 2 days to smoke because it was the entire carcass, and we were not allowed to break it up because it was to be served on a bed of rice. So it's a quarter the size of the studio.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Are there
pictures
How much
for later.
rice?
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of people that carry it.
Oh wow.
No joke. It's like Aladdin.
Okay.
Yeah. But mental picture. Put that in your head.
Got it.
Are there cuts of the camel that are preferred? Is there
The
a
hump?
brisket? Yeah.
The hump is very like the brisket. The neck. The young camel is called hashi, and the younger camel, just like veal. But it is obviously a cuisine of celebration, and endemic to the UAE, and then I guess North Africa is mostly sheep and lamb.
I noticed you have a rather intimidating wolf on your left hand.
Yes, sir.
Do you want to give us a story behind that, if there is one?
Okay. Very briefly, before I was pretending to be a barbecue chef, I was pretending to be a professional fighter. I was on the North American kickboxing circuit. I fought for a team called Team Tompkins, who was Canada's premier striking team. My roommate fought Jose Aldo for the title. I fought on the undercard with George St. Pierre. BJ Penn came to the restaurant a year ago, and Anderson Silva stayed at my house. And when I was when I was in university, my ring name, drum roll please, was Hattem the Wolf Mattar. And so I've kind of carried that character into my adult life in quotations.
That is way cooler of an answer than I could have ever imagined. I really didn't know. I was like hoping it wasn't something like super sentimental you didn't want to talk about.
No.
Turns out
No.
it was very cool. Okay, so jiu-jitsu guy, what's your focus?
Jiu-jitsu is the national sport of the UAE, believe it or not.
Okay.
Sheikh Tahnoon trained under Henzo Gracie, and he didn't tell him that he was one of the shuyukh of Abu Dhabi, and he got a black belt from Henzo. So he's the real deal. Like, he's one of the leaders of the UAE, but he is legit on the mats. Picked up jiu-jitsu when I came back from Canada. Got a world in 2009. Got bronze in the world professional championships. Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed gave me my medal. Bronze at the Asian Games in 2011 and silver at the Abu Dhabi Grand Slam in 2016.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you still follow the sport?
I still follow the sport, unfortunately, but barbecue takes up 48 hours of my day. And I used to fight at 165. I weigh a cool 195 these days, so really far
Gotta
out.
go up a weight class.
I need to go. I need to get back to 165, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
If you're gonna go fight, what is the best barbecue for a pre-fight meal?
There is no. No, I suggest you steer clear of barbecue. When we were competing, believe it or not, I'll tell the truth. Actually, believe it or not, before we would compete, we would go vegetarian for 2 weeks. It improved your cardio, improved your wind, improved your sleep, improved your digestion, and then celebration after your win was 3 pounds of wings to your face.
Was that tough making the switch?
In university, no. These days I'm around barbecue every day, so it's almost impossible to avoid it. But when you were an athlete, no, it was easy. It was good. It was good for you, actually.
Do you ever get sick of it, like being around it that much?
No. At barbecue, if I thought martial arts was my thing and I took to it like fish in water, I don't know where I don't want to say skill because that seems pretentious, but I don't know where the affinity to barbecue comes from. But I feel like it's like natural. I was born to do this. This is my calling.
One more fight question for me.
Sure.
And that's great.
We can move on.
Of all the celebrity chefs,
Yeah.
who do you think would fight the best?
Celebrity chefs.
God
bless him.
Because I've got one in my head that
God rest his soul. Anthony Bourdain was a jiu-jitsu fighter.
That's right.
Yeah, and he actually competed. And Alex Atala, who's a Michelin starred chef out of Brazil, goes and makes plates with ants from the Amazon for dessert, and then goes to train at the local Brazilian top team thing. He's a fighter. There's plenty on the circuit.
Yeah, if I saw a guy step into the ring eating a whole bunch of ants,
Then
I knew I'd be toast.
Yeah. Who did you think was going to win? Who?
I would say Ina Garten because she worked with. First of all, she drinks heavily, and so you don't want to fight someone.
That's not good for your cardio.
No, but she could be irrational, I guess.
Yeah.
But she also she had some high-ranking government position, so I assume that she was trained by the
Special
Pentagon.
forces.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Ina Garten will kill you.
Not Guy Fieri.
Who's that? Oh, Guy Fieri.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
No, he's sitting ringside. He's the promoter.
He is the promoter.
He is the promoter, 100%.
Mayor of Flavortown.
Exactly.
People forget that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'll try not to turn this into just a combat sports minute.
Yeah.
where we
Yeah,
just
yeah. Back to.
tell us about Aldo. No, I won't do that. Just for my own personal gratification, what's the biggest error you see amateur chefs like myself make, like when they are doing something on the grill, on a smoker?
This is probably a larger answer than you want, but I think now in life, everybody's doing things on the surface because of how simple they are digitally. Back in the day, if you wanted to do something at a government office, you had to go physically put your papers in, all of that stuff. Speaking to a girl, you had to go up to her and say, "Excuse me, can I buy you dinner?" I feel like everything that's done, including cuisine, is looking stuff up digitally, Bluetooth temperature probe, setting your microwave or your oven to 250 degrees F on the nose. It's become life has become people cookie cutting things that already exist and not doing it their own way. So I think in cuisine, unless you have people over, man, open the fridge, get your spice cabinet out, buy something that you've never bought, put it all together, make a mistake, figure it out. Then the next time change one variable. Then the next time one variable. Then the next time one variable. I learned barbecue that way. I made hundreds of kilos of bad brisket before I figured it out.
It's a good answer.
Yeah. One
trial and error.
1,000 everything in life, by the way. No one's Wayne Gretzky didn't become Wayne Gretzky in one day. Trial and error, how he holds the stick, Michael Jordan, all those guys, it's trial and error, and nobody sees the trial and error part. They see when you've won the title, they see when you've won the championship, but people are afraid of making mistakes or being told no or this is bad, so they don't try in the first place to make the error.
That makes sense.
I thought that, I know that was bigger than the question on culinary, but it is.
I'm like thinking about my life right now. Reevaluating.
It is. Man. It really is. Honestly, it is really the capability. I think barbecue and martial arts, just to, on the philosophy side of things, in jiu-jitsu, it's a question of submission. If someone puts a submission on you, you could be stubborn. 100% you could be stubborn, but they'll either put you to sleep or take your shoulder off, and you have to. The word. It's hard to say, but you have to submit, right? In life, a lot of people don't do that. In general, someone's telling you to do something, you have to submit. If someone told you on the street, you have to submit to what I'm asking you to do, you're gonna be like, Your first reaction is like, "Excuse me, Holmes."
Yeah.
I'm not
Who the hell are
submitting.
you?
Yeah, exactly. So if you have the humility in martial arts to submit and make a mistake, barbecue does the same thing. You figure out that the brisket that you're cooking, you've made a mistake, and you admit that you've made that mistake over and over and over again until you've got your black belt. Making a mistake and then learning from that one mistake. Next time up, one mistake. Then next time up, you progress. Blue belt, purple, brown, black. I think people have lost the capability to take criticism and learn from mistakes because they don't want to make them in the first place.
I think that makes sense, especially because a lot of people just won't do a brisket because it's time intensive,
Yeah.
it's expensive,
Yeah.
and you make a mistake, somewhere along the way overnight.
Yeah.
Comes out bad, and they're, don't want to, afraid of failing. Honestly,
That's what it is. It's a afraid of failure piece.
All right.
When you're in Texas,
Yes,
and
sir.
let's say outside of barbecue,
Yeah.
what is your favorite like Texas cuisine? It could be fast food. It could be something that's regional.
My favorite Texas cuisine. My reward meal in the UAE when I'm in Dubai is fried chicken. So if you guys have a fried chicken recommendation in Austin, man, let's do that now.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Yeah, but like real deal, not fast food fried chicken, real deal fried chicken.
Austin's a good fried chicken town.
Oh hell
It's
yes.
coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sure,
let's do it.
A lot of the. Have you tried any of the Nashville stuff?
No.
It's
I know what. I mean, they make them on our side of town. They make them in Dubai. They make the sauce, but I haven't had anything here. So your recommendations are welcome.
What's your go-to, Pete?
Well, you were going to. I could see the wheels turning in your head when you mentioned in the Nashville. Tumble 22 is a good spot.
Mental note.
Yeah, it's they got 2 or 3 locations.
I think they got 2 or 3 now. Yeah.
Yeah, they got a couple of them. They do have the hot Nashville sauce, but authentic Nashville hot chicken, they cook the spices into the batter and everything.
Oh,
So it's like you cannot unhot
yeah.
Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah, there's
this one they have it's just fried chicken and they have a bunch of sauces you can put on top, but it's good. It's
There's
really
no
good.
non-spicy version.
There is no such
Yeah, there
thing
you
as
go.
that
Okay.
for authentic Nashville hot chicken. Gus's fried chicken is my personal favorite. It's a small chain. I think they've got a couple dozen locations now, but the original's in Memphis, Tennessee, and I lived there for a little while. It's pretty solid as well.
Honestly, the best fried chicken I've had, and I was just in Australia. I've had some fried chicken here. There's a restaurant in Dubai called Bird, BRD, and I don't know what he's done. He's actually a Peruvian chef in Dubai, making just insane food. He does a menu for a month, and then it disappears, and you can never have it again. He did a dish that was fried chicken, creme fraiche, caviar, honey. Listen, just wait for it. Fried chicken, creme fraiche, caviar on a waffle with a drizzle of honey. Thank me later.
Chicken and waffles with caviar.
Exactly. That's exactly what he did. He just upgraded. He made chicken and waffles a first class meal.
Dare I say nobody's doing that?
No, literally no one.
No.
Now, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there is, in the cool thing about the Dubai food scene is it literally has 195 nationalities cooking for their own diaspora. So the Thai diaspora has their Thai restaurants that they go to. The Uzbek diaspora has an Uzbekistani restaurant. Where would you ever have Uzbek food unless you went? And in Dubai, depending on which side of town you're on, almost every cuisine under the sun exists, cooked by its own people. So we're very spoiled for choice. When you want really good Indian, you go to the best Indian restaurant cooked by an Indian gentleman from the south of India, which is a seafaring city, Indian seafood. And then you go further inland. It's an incredible place for food at the moment. It wasn't like that when we were growing up, but it is now.
Are there some interesting cross-cultural, kind of blending of those different traditions? So I'm thinking like here we've got a place called Valentina's. It's Tex-Mex barbecue.
Okay.
They mix Tex-Mex Mexican food with, you'll get a brisket or a beef rib with queso on it, that sort of thing.
Dana's look is dying for like legit Tex-Mex. So we've got a list of fried chicken first, and then we'll go Tex-Mex. There is, cross-cultural. Hey, right here.
For sure.
Yeah. Other people that are doing it, Chef Omar from Slab, from Bird. There's an Indian restaurant that's doing molecular gastronomy. So like the stuff that you see on Netflix, where they make like a bubble that explodes and then there's stuff underneath with Indian cuisine. And his restaurant is called Trez Ind Studio. And it's a studio of, he plates this stuff. It's incredible. It's not the stuff that you would go, I mean, this is something that you go to for like an anniversary or something, but it's art on a plate and incredibly delicious. And it's him pushing Indian cuisine kind of into the fine dining space.
Molecular gastronomy.
That's a word. I didn't make that up.
I don't. I'm not familiar.
Molecular.
You just see me short circuit.
Do you
over
guys
here.
know?
Exactly.
Do you know? There's a restaurant in Chicago called Alinea, Granta Schatz. He makes a dish with a balloon of sugar that floats in front of you when you arrive, and you take the dish that's hanging off the balloon and eat it. That kind of cuisine. I'm not joking. I'm not making this up.
People are wild, man.
I'm not making this up. That type of cuisine is called molecular gastronomy. He's got an episode on Chef's Table.
Okay.
I'm looking into this when we're done.
Molecular gastronomy.
Okay.
Yeah. Heston Blumenthal in London. What's his name? Gagan in Thailand and in India. Yeah, cuisine is like, an encyclopedia, never ending.
It's awesome.
How lit is Dubai?
Dubai, if I left, the thing about Dubai and why I'll never move, and the UAE in general, why I'll never leave the UAE is because of how safe it is. We leave our doors unlocked. And if you left something on a table somewhere, you'd find it the next day if you came back the next day. Because everybody lives there with a job, like it's an expatriate community. You're not there without a work visa. So because you're there working, it's an extreme. I have daughters, 2 daughters, 13 and 11. They've got more energy than I do. Long day of barbecue. We've got a lot of farm animals at home, the dogs and stuff like that. And they want to play outside on the street in the neighborhood we live in. It's like 10:30 at night. I'm like, listen, man, peace in the Middle East. I'm going to sleep. I don't have to keep my eye on them on the safety side of things. On the lit side of things, if you total other end of the spectrum, there is everything under the sun. The concerts that are in the UAE, the concert scene, the music scene, the club scene, the restaurant scene, you've never seen hospitality like that unless you come to Dubai. The supercars, the decorations of the restaurants, who comes. Karim Benzema is the footballers there. We fed Paul Pogba. We fed Mohamed Salah. We fed Habib. Brushed shoulders with Will Smith. So you can imagine those kind of interactions in that city. It's probably the most lit city on earth in a very small space.
If you like, or for example, maybe hosting an award show and you see Will Smith walking toward the stage, maybe after you made a joke about him or his wife, and he raises his hand, what are you doing? You going rear naked choke? What are you putting him in?
No, I love Will Smith. The next time I see him, I wanted to do my Mike Lowry and Marcus Barnett impression from Bad Boys. You guys grew up watching that.
Absolutely.
How do I know it's Mike Lowry? Cause Mike Lowry. I want to do that with Will Smith, but I never got the chance.
Oh man, he'll be back.
He will, 100%.
We need to go. It just drives it home. We gotta figure this out. Get us to Dubai.
Yeah.
You hear it's lit, and that sounds like
It is.
sounds like a good
It's
time.
a beautiful city. It's a beautiful country. Right. It's on the
They got brisket that tastes like nothing else in the world.
It's true.
Apparently.
It's true. But when you see it coming from the plane, it's like something out of Star Wars. It's an incredibly diverse city. Burj Khalifa, almost touching the sky, right on the water. Right? So it's this coastal city in the middle of pristine desert, 15 minutes outside the city. The sand dunes are like 4 stories, 5 stories high. And bear in mind, the UAE is only 50 years old, by the way. Some of the people that attended the Smithsonian Folklife Festival are older than the UAE. You know what I mean? And so the founder of the country, the George Washington of the country, Sheikh Zayed Allah Rahmah, we had access to him. Like we saw him. The UAE has founding country energy at the moment. It's that new. Everybody's doing something new. Everybody's building. So you guys got to come.
If I'm scared of heights, would I be happy in the hotels?
So the reason I skydive actually is because I'm deathly afraid of heights.
Huh?
But
You got a plan.
no, so listen. So the philosophy is, if I can convince my brain when I get, it's a horrible feeling, by the way, the door of the plane opens, everybody on the plane is high-fiving. They're like, yes, I can't wait. You should see my face. I'm like, why am I doing, I can't believe I paid for this. But tell myself at the door of the plane, I'm going to jump. And I do jump. When I get down, anytime I'm doing something just like this, by the way, there is the nervous part of you, the part of your brain that's like, you can't do this. And then I have the conversation. I was like, oh, weren't you talking to me at the door of the plane? And you said I can't do this, and I did? Shut up. You're lying. And then I do it. So I jump to get over my fear of heights. So when I have the conversation with myself about anything else I can't do, I'm like, I've had this conversation with you before. Shut up. You're lying.
Mm-hmm. All right.
How many jumps before you could go solo?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Because I did a tandem once.
That counts as 1.
And you weren't lying. When they open the door,
Yeah.
it gets real.
Yeah.
It's a different feeling.
The wind is pulling, and you look down and you're like, did I pay for this?
Your body's like, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do this.
Yeah, 100%. And if the guy doesn't go 1, 2, 3, and you jump, you're like, you know what? Just take me down. If you can look at the pilot and the guy that you're flying with, look him in the face and be like, please take me down. Some people, I'm serious. Some people on the plane, they're like, hey, you ready? And they're like, no, I'm not flying. Nope. And they got to come down and live with that for the rest of their life.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
Not
be
me.
fine. You'll be fine. The hotels are not that high. Just don't stay Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, I don't. I see pictures of that, and I'm like, yeah.
You could stay at the farm. It's only a 1-story building.
Tight. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Come hang out.
What's next for Hattem Mattar in 2022?
More culinary diplomacy, more breaking down barriers, more telling people about the UAE, where we come from, what we stand for, Arabic hospitality, the Middle East in general, and in the United States. I mean, I grew up French school, British school, American school, Saudi Arabia, UAE, not out of ignorance, but what's on the media. Anytime we have conversations with people in the US that have not traveled abroad and we say the Middle East, their automatic response is conflict. Oh, isn't that where this was? Isn't that where this war is? Or isn't that where? And we're trying to get rid of that stereotype that exists from the 90s and still exists today. There is conflict. But look at, we call it MENA, Middle East, North Africa. From Morocco to Iraq, almost 17 or 18 countries, correct me if I'm wrong, we all speak the same language, right? And it's an incredibly diverse part of the world. Doesn't really get its fair share of publicity for its cuisine, for its landscape, for its mountains. It's the Red Sea. You listen. Do you guys scuba dive? Anybody big on the water?
I snorkel.
You haven't snorkeled until you've snorkeled the Red Sea.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
We got an itinerary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Wrapping
like
up right
start
now.
adding this stuff. Just getting the Arab world the publicity it needs for its music, for its culture, for its calligraphy, for its athletes, for its medicine, for all the stuff. That's what's next for us, in disguise as barbecue. That's the point of everything we're doing, really.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming by. It's been a good time.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you guys.
Where can the listeners follow you?
Instagram, first and last name, Hattem Mattar, Hattem Mattar. In university, nobody knew my name. Everybody thought my name was double T. I was introducing myself, 18, 19 years old. Hey, what's your name? Hattem. I'm sorry, what? Everybody's in the club, doing that thing with your ear when you're like, I'm sorry, what did you say? So I'm like, Hattem. And I realized that they couldn't hear me. So I would say, first year university, I said Hattem. And what they heard was double T. They're like, oh, double T? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So I spent 4 years of my life in university incognito.
Double T is a pretty badass nickname.
It is.
Yeah,
And
it's
then when
it's
we
almost
came,
as good as Wolf.
listen, when we came to graduate, everyone was like, Hattem Mattar. And they're like, who's that? And I got up and they're like, what?
Double
It's
T?
Double T?
Yeah.
Double T? Yeah.
That producer Randy over there, he goes by T-Bone.
Oh, no.
Took him to dinner one time. He ordered a T-bone. They didn't have a T-bone, but
So-
he wanted one.
Okay. Yeah. So Instagram, Hattem Mattar. And everything else that we do is on, the restaurant is on there. Our culinary diplomacy project with the UAE embassy is on there. Our culinary diplomacy project with the American consulate is on there. Bilateral barbecue relations, kind of. Yeah, and everything we do is mostly on Instagram. I'm too old for TikTok.
Yeah, me too. I tried.
Yeah,
but,
I tried. My kids are on.
We're
but
doing okay.
Yeah, I think it does the trick for me.
I tried, and then my niece saw one that I did, and
Yeah,
she's
she's like-
13.
she's
She's
like,
like,
"Don't
"What are you doing?"
No,
Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, my daughter asked me. She's like, "Are you on Are you on TikTok or Snapchat?" I'm like, "No, why?" She's like, "Because I'm on it." So I'm like, okay, well, I'm on it now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So just Instagram. Just Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
No, my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. What a cool setup. What a cool hangout and what a cool conversation. I hope I get to host you guys in the UAE. You guys get to visit and you see what all the hype and fuss is about.
Yeah, I hope that happens as well.
It's on the list. Yeah.
100%.
Okay. Well, that's Hattem Mattar, ladies and gentlemen. We will see y'all next week. Bye.
Closes on. You think I'm fucking with you? I'm not fucking with you. I'm not fucking with you. Coffee closes on. Closes on. Coffee closes on.
Uncut Chat.
Holy shit.